Hello everyone, it's a cold but sunny morning here in Hampshire in the UK. This is a brief overview of my bandsaw mill. It's my homemade bandsaw mill. It's a twin axle trailer. The trailer itself is made from I-section steel. The log stops are movable and I have 3 of them, 2 close together at this end and then 1 further down for longer length. So this is ideal for just short lengths. This is a fairly short log, it's about 6 foot long. So these just pivot up and they're exactly 12 inches from the rails, and they're these rollers, aluminium rollers, just to help with the turning of the log, and they work fantastically. I highly recommend doing that if you're going to make one. For the log clamps, I use a cam type arrangement here, and that just slides on a tube, comes up against the wood, and you move this arm down and it locks against the oak. Now this is really solid oak, so it'll bite in nicely. So that's it. That's what I use for the log clamps. Onto the saw head itself, the carriage. Don't know what I'm going to say about this. Where to start? Well, it's a powered by a twin cylinder 14 horsepower diesel engine, a Yanmar diesel engine from a lawn tractor. I've got my battery here and an isolator, fuel tank and water reservoir for blade lubrication and keeping the blade clean. Mostly I'm cutting hardwood, so I don't really need to use that, and I tend not to use it very much. So the maximum width of cut is 31 inches. And I have an adjustment here for the adjustable roller, so that can give me that adjustment. You want it about there. Blade tension is via a bottle jack that's on its side, and when those 2 lines line up, then the blade tension is right because there's a 600 kilo spring in there. The carriage movement down the bed is electric, and as is the up and down movement of the saw head as well. That's also electric. The saw head is powered from this winch motor. I've put a geared sort of chain system on here, and that's lifted. That lifts the carriage via these cables here. It's quite high at the moment because I'm cutting this tall log. But that's basically the adjustments are on here. I set it once when I first commissioned it, and I haven't had to adjust it yet, so that seems to work really, really well. Quite pleased with that. That's actually an old scaffold tube. I'll go through the materials another time and what I utilize, but this is just a brief overrun. So I have one single lever here that engages the jockey wheel on the belt, so that puts the drive in. It also throttles the engine and turns on the water feed. So one lever puts everything into motion. This is my control panel. I've got engine RPM here, volts, fuel and water temperature. This is my carriage up and down movement, so I've got up and a speed controller for that. So we also have a backup here, which is a hand crank, just to release the this drive here on the motor, and then I can pull this pin out, and this pin drops into the holes, and you can wind it up and down. And these are set at 1/8 in increments, so they lift and lower the blade by 1/8 of an inch. The carriage itself is also powered, and that's powered by this sort of mobility scooter motor here. And I actually use a cable. Wasn't sure if this was going to work or not, but it works really well. So you have to tension the cable up a little bit, and then it grips and it does well. I've also got limit stops here, so it stops when it gets to the edge of the bed, or if it gets down to my little, you see my little yellow magnetic stop there, that's adjustable. So There's no point in it running all the way to the end if the log is shorter, so that just cuts that off early. I have a laser that I put on, which is really helpful. If I show you that, that's the auto switch off. I don't know if you can see that laser level there. It's very bright here today, so that's super handy for leveling up the tops of logs when you're not, you want to know where the blade's likely to cut, and that's really, really handy. The method I use for measurements is I have 3 tapes basically. This one here is fixed, and that's is the actual height from the bunks themselves, same as this one. They're both the same. This one's handy because it shows me that if I'm in the yellow here, I need to make sure that my log stops are folded down. So that's always a reminder. If I'm in the yellow, double check that they're folded down. This one, I put this one on there just because it has millimeter measurements, and this one is my quarter scale. This is really handy. So this is just on a magnetic strip, and then if you know about quarters, if you use the quarter method, you know how that works. That's really, really good. I'll go through that another time. But I think that is about it. Uses a 1 1/4 inch blade. That's a sort of fairly standard 165 inch. I think it's on the Timber King 1220 and the LT 40 possibly, not sure. Oh, and this is quite a nice feature, is the fact that I've got a 16 inch throat depth there, and I was very keen not to have anything intruding in that sort of square area there, so you can absolutely max out. These are homemade. They're very similar to the Cook style. Well, they are the Cook style really, but I made those from some stock that I had. Yeah, that I think about covers it. I've also got ramps in here if I want to roll logs on, and a high lift jack, which is kind of handy sometimes if you're in a field and you need to twist the log over. At the moment I've got the digger here, so I don't need the ramps or the winches. And there are receivers here for the winches, so I have an arm that comes up here, and the winch sits on here, so I can roll the logs this way on. And the ramps, normally you want to put the ramps on that side there, and here are the ramps down in here, so they just slide out from the end. A couple of pins, they slide out. So that's about it. Hope that was helpful. Not sure if there's anything else you need to know. Comment down below, and if there's anything I've missed, I'll come back to it. Thanks for watching.